So video number 2 coming at you. This time I decided to make it a little bit longer, and I ended up making 3 things. Originally I was just gonna make 2. I was gonna make a dinner and a dessert, but there was a little extra something, so I did some more. But for the dinner we did a brie stuffed chicken with an apricot preserve glaze and a roasted potato and broccoli side dish. Super easy to make. It was a lot of fun and it tasted amazing. It also looked really pretty too. So that was a perk. And then I made a pecan pie because that is Henry's favorite dessert. I've never made a pie before, so this is the first time, and it turned out really good. So super excited about that. And another little fun fact, if you stay tuned and watch the entire video, you'll get to see Henry help. He definitely shies away from the camera a little bit, but that's all right. So definitely stay tuned and subscribe. If I get 100 subscribers, then I get to create my own URL. So then I'll be like real fancy. So that'd be awesome if you guys could help me out. Also, just give it a thumbs up or even comment. Maybe give me some suggestions. There we go. That's ESPN update. But definitely give me some suggestions on what I could do better. Obviously, I'm still working on it, getting the video editing down. But if there's any recommendations or even some suggestions for different things I can make, or even some other videos you might want to see, let me know. But here we go. Hey guys, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is make the pie crust. The reason why I'm going to go ahead and get started on that now is because the pie crust, you want that to get chilled. Whenever you're working with pastries, you want all of your items to be cold or chilled. So as soon as I finish the pie crust, I'm going to throw it in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to an hour. That'll also make it a lot easier to handle and roll out and everything a little bit later on. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I have 2.5 cups of flour, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of sugar. So what we're going to do is combine these in a food processor. You can also just mix these together, but I'm going to do it in a food processor just because they get a little bit more mixed, and once you add the butter, it really incorporates the butter a lot easier than having to whisk it by hand. With that being said, my food processor is rather small, so I'm going to have to do this in portions. So just bear with me, and then that way if you have a small food processor, you can figure out how to do this as well. Okay. So this might get a little bit messy, but we're going to go for it. So I'm going to take about a cup of flour. Maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe about 1.5 cups. Okay, and then roughly half of the sugar and salt, and we're going to go ahead and mix that. So I'm going to go ahead and add about half of the butter, and it is chilled, and I did cube it up a little bit just so it's a little bit easier to mix in. So once that is combined, I'm going to dump this half and start the second half. Okay, so here we go. We have completed combining all of the ingredients besides the water. You want your dry ingredients to look like a coarse meal, and that's what we have here. You can continue to do this next step with the food processor. It will be a little bit easier, but since my food processor isn't big enough, it'll be easier to do it just like this. So that is what we are going to do. So we are going to add our ice cold water, just 1 tablespoon at a time, just to make sure we don't add too much water. So now that we have added the water, we're going to test it, and this is how you're going to test it. If you just grab a little bit and squeeze it in a ball, and it stays in a ball, then we're good. But you also want it to still have that crumbly consistency. So what we're going to do next is remove that. From the bowl, and we're going to divide it into 2 because this recipe does make enough for 2 9-inch pies. So we are going to separate those and form them into small discs. Wrap them in plastic wrap and store them in the fridge for at least up to an hour if you're planning on using it. If you are not planning on using it right away, you can store this pie crust in the freezer for up to a month. Okay everyone, so now we are going to move on to dinner. We are starting with our side dish of potatoes. They're going to be oven roasted. I've already chopped up a few, but I have a few left to do right now. For these, you're either going to cut into quarters or halves. If they're small, just have them and that's fine. If they're bigger ones, go ahead and do quarters. All of my potatoes into a bowl, but you can also put them straight into the pan. I just feel it's easier to get them mixed in with the bowl. So you're going to add about 3.5 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Salt and pepper. I did a teaspoon and a half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper. And then some minced garlic, and some lemon zest. Okay, now we're going to mix all of this together, and I went ahead and started preheating the oven to 400. Once all of your potatoes are evenly coated in the olive oil, we're going to go ahead and dump them straight onto the pan. Make sure you spread them out evenly, so they are all cooked evenly. And once your oven is preheated, go ahead and throw them in for at least 10 minutes before we add our next step. Okay, next we are going to start our filling for the chicken. So this is a cheese mixture, but first we're going to start with some basil, pecans, garlic, and olive oil. To cut up your basil, you're going to roll a few pieces together and then make thin slices all the way through. Once you've chopped all of your basil, go ahead and add that to the food processor. I used about 8 leaves. You're then going to add about a half cup of pecans, or you could use walnuts. You're then going to add a tablespoon of olive oil and 1 clove of minced garlic. Once that is all added, we're going to go ahead and pulse this together until it makes a paste. We are going to go ahead and move that to the side and get started on our cheese. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and finish up the cheese filling for the chicken. We're going to take a wheel of cheese. This is a 13-ounce wheel, and we're only going to need about 6 ounces, so I'm going to cut it roughly in half. And then I'm going to remove all of the brine. We're then going to just cut it into cubes roughly. It's super soft, so it won't keep its shape. But then we're going to just add that to our food processor with the basil and pecan combination. After that, we're going to move on to our cream cheese. I have a block of cream cheese, and we only need about 2 ounces. And since a block of cream cheese is about 8, I'm only going to do a quarter. Again, just cut that up into smaller pieces just so it mixes a little easier. After we've added our cheeses, we're going to crack 1 egg. And then we are going to combine these ingredients. Okay, we're now going to take our 2 chicken breasts. These have skin on them, but they are boneless. If you can't find them in the store, that is totally fine. Just get a skin on, bone in chicken, and then just take the rib out. You're going to lift the skin off of the chicken breast, and we are going to fill the chicken with our cheese mixture. You're going to do about 1 to 2 tablespoons per chicken breast, just depending on the size. These are larger chicken breasts, so I'm going to do a little bit more cheese. And then you'll just pull the skin back over and do the same with the other. Now we are going to make the glaze for on top of our chicken. We're going to start with 3 1/4 cups of apricot preserve. We're going to do a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar and a tablespoon of olive oil. Going to combine that together, and I'm also going to add some salt, pepper, and crushed red pepper flakes. When adding these items, just add as much as you see fit, depending on your taste. As this is a sweeter glaze, I'm going to add a little bit more spice with the crushed red pepper. And you're going to just top your chicken with the glaze. Okay, our next step is going to be to remove our potatoes that we had in the oven. And I'm going to go ahead and add some broccoli. With this broccoli, I just added the same mixture that I did to the potatoes as a little add-on for our vegetables. Again, make sure those are all evenly spread out. And we're going to go ahead and toss everything together. Just be careful with the potatoes being hot. We're then going to spread out the potatoes and broccoli to the edges. Still try and keep them all in one layer. And we're going to add our chicken to the baking sheet. We're now going to go ahead and throw our chicken with our sides into the oven, 400 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. Just keep an eye on the potatoes as they can tend to burn a little bit quicker. So if that is the case, just remove it, take the potatoes and broccoli off, and put the chicken back in until it's done. All right, we're now moving back to our pie crust. This has been in the refrigerator for about an hour and 15 minutes. So now we're going to just roll it out and line our pan. You want to flour your surface that you're going to be rolling it out on. And make sure you have enough flour coating your crust so it doesn't get stuck to our rolling pin. And go ahead and start rolling it out. We're now going to go ahead and place our pie crust in our pan. Go ahead and flatten it to the sides. And then we're going to trim off any excess we have around the edges. Okay, so just take your knife and trim off the excess around your pie pan. Okay, now you have two options. You can either throw all of this pie crust that you worked so hard on away, or you can make mini tarts. So that's what we're going to do. But before then, we're going to get this pie in the oven. When baking a pie that does not have a filling to go in the oven immediately, you have to bake just the crust first. When doing so, you want to make sure that your pie crust won't rise at the bottom. So you either use pie weights or something else that's heavy that can go in the oven. I do not have pie weights, so we are going to use a bag of dimes. And to do so, we're going to line our pie crust with tin foil before we put the dimes on there. It's also a good idea to do when you are using pie weights, just so they don't get dirty. So we're now going to put this in the oven at 375 for roughly 25 minutes or until the edges are dry. Okay, now we're going to make mini turnovers with our leftover pie crust. So again, just roll it out. You want it to be pretty thin. We're then going to cut out just a few rounds and we'll see what happens next. All right, we are back. We just enjoyed that dinner. Oh my goodness, the chicken with that salty brie and the cheese filling with that apricot glaze on top, super sweet. So good, definitely recommend. But now back to our dessert. So our pie is finished, our pie crust is finished out of the oven. We have it here. Now we're going to just get that filling started, and then we'll get that cooking, finish it up, and then have some tonight. So to start, we have 4 eggs, and we're going to just mix all of these, combine all of these ingredients, and then add them to the pie filling, and we'll throw them in. And then we're going to get back and do our mini turnovers. So stay tuned for a little bit. So go ahead and start combining these ingredients. Right now I have 4 eggs. Okay, and I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. So you can either do 1 cup of regular sugar or 1 cup of brown sugar, but I decided to do half and half. So that is up to you. Okay, next we're going to add our syrup. You can either add corn syrup, or you can do what I'm doing, which is some maple syrup. So just any sort of breakfast syrup. It's 3/4 cups, and you're going to just dump that in. Now you're going to add 5 tablespoons of melted butter. Next we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. And another thing we're going to add to cut some of that sweetness is some bourbon. You can either use bourbon or dark rum, or if you prefer neither, you can also just use vanilla, but only use 1 teaspoon. If you're going the alcoholic route, it's going to be roughly 3 tablespoons of whichever you choose. We are using Medley Bros. It's a Kentucky bourbon. So 3 tablespoons of that. Whoops. Whoops. I promise I haven't had any of it. Next we are going to add our pecans. And you're just going to, it's going to be about 2 cups. And I'm going to slightly hammer them down just so they're a little bit finer. So to do so, I just put them in a plastic bag, and I am just hammering them down and crush them a little bit, not too much. And we're going to add that. And then we are going to also add our chocolate. This is unsweet chocolate, and I'm going to add about, where is that all? 4 ounces. And we're going to just stir to combine this. Finally, we're going to dump this filling into our pie crust. It's then going to go back into the oven at 375 for 30 to 45 minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to make the mini turnovers with your extra pie crust. So I was able to make 8. I could have probably squeezed 9 out, but I wasn't worried about it, just so I had an even number. But you're going to take your little round discs and you're going to fill them with about a half a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of your jelly of your choice. My personal favorite is black raspberry. So I'm going to do a few of those, but I'll also do a few other ones, just because I like the variety. So you just fill it up halfway, really, just in the middle, and you're going to fold it over. Once you fold it over, you're going to take a fork and just pinch the sides, and that's how you'll get the edges to stay closed when they're cooking and you won't have any spillage from the jelly. So I am going to just do 2 of each jelly just because I had 4 in the fridge. And it's okay if the jelly spews out a little bit. And we're going to just take those and put them on either on a baking sheet. I have them in a brownie pan, wherever they'll fit. And if you end up making more with all of your pie crust, that works too. Just probably have to use a cookie sheet. These are so great because it's got that buttery, flaky shell from your pie crust and the sweet jelly. And then after they come out of the oven, we're going to sprinkle them with a little icing. Oh my goodness. And the last jelly or jam preserve that I'm using is actually our apricot preserve that we used for our chicken earlier. So that's nice how that worked out. Now these you're going to go ahead and put in the oven with the pie. They're going to go in for roughly about 15 minutes on that 375 temperature. And in a second we will make some icing. Henry is going to make our icing. So go for it. Nope. You're going to do a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. Very nice. And then you're going to add a little bit of milk. That's good. And now go ahead and stir it. And you're going to stir it until you have the consistency of icing. So you're going to want your icing to to get thin enough to where it'll still pour, but thick enough to where it has some texture to it. Then after your turnovers come out, you'll just drizzle this icing over, and if you have extra, like we might, you can add it to your waffles in the morning. Okay, so now we have pulled out our turnovers. Just put them on a plate, and then Henry's going to drizzle the icing lightly over, just use the spoon, lightly over the turnovers. You don't want to do too heavy because the jelly's already super sweet. Wow, that's a pretty one. So you don't need a whole lot of icing. But if you like sweet stuff, then go for it. Load it on up. Do you want to be in? Come here. Come here. Say hello. And here is our pecan pie.